Hello everybody. I just wanted to provide a crypto update here because it's quite interesting right now. I mean, you all remember this is the daily chart Bitcoin, that we had this strong sell-off, right? And there was a recovery to the 200 moving average. That was basically my minimum recovery goal, 200 to to this horizontal line. Then we had another sell-off that was held higher, right, by the bulls. Then we've got another sell-off. So we have higher lows, right? So these three errors. Now on the other side, so that's the strength of the bulls basically. And we have long wicks, so these are rejection bars on the bottom. So they are buyers buying these sell-offs up, right? So some are panicking and selling, and others are actually filling their pockets with those bitcoins. Now on the 4-hour chart, we can see that we had a couple of short S1 short patterns. This is one, this is another one. This didn't break to a new low. So now we have, then here we had, then this is an S1 long pattern, right? So these are the last two lower highs. So we're basically squeezed now between these higher lows and these two lower highs. So basically this high and this high. And during this this bull bear squeeze, we can see that, well, first we had a couple of short patterns here on the that's one time frame lower, right? We can just plotted them, drawn them in here on the 4-hour chart. That's and there's another S1 and this short, and this is an S1 long now, right? So now my eyes actually goes to if the bulls are strong enough to break this this level, a rebreak, and then to break to a new high, right? And maybe even break this consolidation high. So I'm waiting for this this to happen, right? If this consolidation high gets broken, then we actually are breaking as well the 200 moving average here. Now on a lower time frame, that 1-hour chart, that's basically what we see here, this small consolidation on the bottom left. Well, it's what we see here. That's another S1 pattern, right? We can clearly see that's on a 15-minute chart. It's an S1 pattern. Price has been playing nicely here with the 200, right? It found support at the 200, and now it's trying to move higher. So we are here in this squeeze, right? In this in this bull bear fight. And we have to see what comes out of it. Overall, well, that's a pretty strong sell-off, right? And that's a liquidation. I couldn't find any news, right, over the last when did that happen? Over the last week, basically, I couldn't find any news that explains this. Well, that's the other alternative I've seen. The most probable that these are forced sellings, basically. Panic sales of over leveraged traders. As you know, most crypto exchanges now offer derivative products, like they provide a capital, right, debt capital, and then crypto trading becomes a leveraged product. Well, they call it futures. It's not a futures in this like standard sense, right? It's not a regulated futures contract. It's a future. It's more like a CFD, a leveraged product that the exchange itself offers its clients. Now you can imagine what happened here, right? When this smashed down. Well, a lot of those leveraged clients, small investors or small traders, well, they were liquidated, right? A forced liquidation, and that means, most of them have been long, right? And a forced liquidation means that, well, any position they have will be sold, liquidated. And this is I think this is what we see here. You can compare it a little bit with the stock exchange crash of 87, right? That was the first crash I experienced, basically live. Well, not in front of the screen, but there was a lot of it was a big news in the newspaper, right? And that's basically what happened, forced liquidations. Now let's have a look at a website. So this is a website. The website is bybt.com, and here you get all kind of interesting information, right? So for example, open interest on futures. Well, these unregulated futures. And if you go further down, well, that's you see how the open interest, that's kind of the number of contracts that have been traded. Well, this has diminished quite a bit, and that means liquidation, right? So many long future traders had to sell, and that decreases the open interest. And this is here, that's the 23rd, right? The big sell-off was, I think, was a day later, but we see that the big expansion of open interest has been reduced quite a bit. Let's have a look at another one, liquidation. So that's basically forced liquidation. We go a little bit lower, and again here we can see that on that day, that was the day before the big sell-off, or we had a big liquidation wave. Same here, a little bit further back, right? So a big liquidation, yeah, and down here you see the price of Bitcoin. So that was slightly before, right? And then after this liquidation, it seems like other investors got scared and liquidated as well. So we see quite a lot of things happening right here, and that's typically a good sign. I mean, we already had a liquidation here, right, when Bitcoin was going sideways, and now we had another. So we have two liquidations, right, since Bitcoin is going sideways. And now a sell-off. So we might actually have, well, I'm showing you that because we might actually have found a bottom, right? It still looks scary, and we're going to look at the chart just in a minute. What's interesting here as well, you can click on grayscale, and then you can click on Bitcoin treasuries, and here you can see institutional investors in Bitcoin. I think that's what it says, right? Because we see a MicroStrategy. They have like 2 billion invested in Bitcoin here, 91 Bitcoins. We have Tesla, and we have Square, right? So these are the known ones, and there are many more than that. Well, these are not that big investments, right? But you can have an eye on this list just to see. I mean, how many institutional investors, new investors coming in, and how they're piling up on their investments, right? So let's have a look back at the charts. So this looks quite scary, right? We've got big bars and big wicks. It looks scary, and this actually might be a consolidation, right? A consolidation is typically a trend following consolidation. So we could see a second wave down. I don't know, right? We had a lot of liquidations. We might actually have found a bottom. And well, finding a bottom is great, right? I mean, most of those altcoins, they're depressed in price. And if you get, I mean, you don't need to get in here in the bottom, right? Or you don't need to get in here. Well, I deleveraged with the pullback here. You don't need to get in here, right? So I'm more favorable of waiting for a bull trend strength coming in. That's exactly what we see here, right? So this was bear strength, couldn't follow through, couldn't make a new low. Then that's a momentum move, right? And that's an S1 pattern. And here's another S1 pattern on the 15-minute. So I just want to see now that bull strength comes in, and I've already started to reinvest in some of those altcoins, because some of those coins have already triggered an S1. We see a lot of S1 patterns on the daily chart now due to the strong sell-off. Let's have a look at IOTA. IOTA didn't trigger. We have to go to this one. IOTA didn't trigger yet anything. IOTA has sold off, right? So up here basically is the S1 pattern. So that's far away from triggering. But so I'm more interested in those that are able to show. So for example, this one. We don't have a pattern here, and it sold off. So I'm not necessarily interested in this one. I'm more interested in those ones that have a pattern, an S1 pattern, because what that means is if this is the pattern here, right, this is the momentum move. And if it triggers, well, we should get a similar momentum move higher. So that's a great opportunity with these daily patterns having formed. I mean, here there was another S1, right, and that didn't follow through. So that S1 was basically on a 4-hour chart. Now this has now has been transformed into a daily S1. Now let's have a quick look if no Sky. Yeah, Sky for example looks much better, right? That's an S1, and it's much closer to trigger. I want actually to get here an alarm. It's much closer to get triggered. Or this one, right? I want to see this to make now a new high, and so it's not too late, right? You don't need to get in here, or you shouldn't get out in here either. But there are a good number of opportunities let's have a look at I don't know, at ADA, for example, right? So ADA, well, ADA actually had a 4 hour, has a 4 hour S1 that has triggered here, that came back, and now it looks pretty strong, right? Well, let's have a look at Matic. That hasn't sold a lot, right? I mean, this here, Matic, well, it sold and quickly recovered, quickly rebroke on the 24th, right? So that's an S1 pattern here, right? That rebroke already, and now we've got another S1 pattern here that rebroke, right? And it looks like we've got another S1 pattern here. Let's have it on a lower time frame. Let's have a look at like that. So markets are fractal, and I like this, right? If you've got a pattern within a pattern within a pattern, and that's actually true. On a 15-minute chart here, we've got another S1 pattern. So that tells us that the bulls are getting stronger, right? We've got on a 15-minute chart, we've got a pattern here. We've got on the 4-hour chart, we've got an S1 pattern, and we've got that's basically the hourly chart, and we have got on the 4-hour chart an S1 pattern, right? So we've got three consecutive patterns in 3 time frames. So that's quite nice. So I'm going for this right now, stalking closely. If we get some entries on altcoins, like especially those that have a pattern and that are close to trigger an entry, and that might not have had such a strong sell-off. Like these strong sell-offs, I would rather be interested to get in early, maybe even before the rebreak, right? If we see that there's strength coming in, let's have a look at IOTA, because we talked about it. Well, that's an S1 pattern, right, as well. So we see bullish strength here coming in as well. It might make a new high, right? And then it might form another pattern, maybe on a lower time frame, and that might be good enough for me to say, okay, we might have actually, this is over now, and the price now is above the 200, and we might get a rebreak as others already had. So that's basically different strategies, right? You can play the strong altcoins that didn't sell off a lot, or you can trade those that sold off a lot and are showing early signs of recovery with patterns in a lower time frame. So some of those patterns might actually transform into S2 a turtle, like the futures pattern. So this looks like, right? This could get this also type of futures pattern, and we see others too. Let's see, where did I see that? Yeah, here the Ethereum Bitcoin, the relative chart. Ethereum Bitcoin is basically an S2 pattern, right? And I'm really interested now, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. If this is able to break this high, and that's an entry signal basically that Ethereum will perform much better than Bitcoin. So interesting times. If you haven't any investment yet in cryptos, well, we might have another leg down, right? So a potential target is down here, the 20,000, or that would be even better, right? I don't mind. Or we could have the opportunity that we get a lot of S1 patterns, and then again, well, you can be sure that you can count on that this is the momentum move. Same for Bitcoin, right? This is the momentum move, this is a pattern. You can expect that this momentum move gets duplicated, and then the target from this momentum move actually becomes 500,000 Bitcoin. That's what the chart tells, right? So let's see, interesting times.